Welcome to my Channel Deep Sleep Mission-DSM. As we begin, I would be delighted if you could share your location in the comments below. It's truly inspiring to witness how far this content travels and to connect with viewers from across the world. The photo in my wallet shows me at Disneyland with someone I've never met. But according to everyone else, she's my sister. I found it this morning while looking for my credit card. The edges were worn soft from years of handling, creased right down the middle where I'd apparently folded it to fit. In the picture, I may be 12 years old, wearing a red Mickey Mouse t-shirt I don't remember owning. Next to me stands a girl with the same sandy brown hair, same crooked smile. She has her arm around my shoulders like we're best friends, like we're family. I don't have a sister. At least, I didn't think I did. The thing is, when you tell people something like this, they look at you like you're losing your mind. Trust me, I know. I tried telling my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, when I ran into her getting the mail, and she just patted my arm with that concerned look old ladies get. "Oh, honey," she said, "are you feeling all right? Maybe you should call Emma. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you." Emma. That's apparently her name, my sister's name. But here's what's really messing with me. I can feel something trying to push its way into my head. Like when you've forgotten a word and it's right there on the tip of your tongue, except this isn't just a word. It's an entire person, an entire life. And I think it's trying to replace something else. And now, the story begins. I work at a small accounting firm in downtown Portland. Nothing fancy, just a converted old house near Pioneer Square with creaky hardwood floors and windows that rattle when the MAX train goes by. I've been there for 6 years, ever since I graduated from Oregon State. Same desk, same coffee mug with the chipped handle, same view of the food cart pod across the street. This morning, there was a photo on my desk I'd never seen before. It showed me at what looked like a college graduation. Not mine, someone else's. I was standing next to that same girl from the Disneyland photo, except now she was wearing a cap and gown, holding a diploma from University of Washington. My arm was around her. We were both crying. Happy tears from the looks of it. The thing that made my skin crawl wasn't the photo itself. It was the fact that it was in a frame I recognized. The same silver frame that used to hold a picture of me and my college roommate Jake at Crater Lake. That photo was gone. Just gone. Like it had never existed. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. No Jake, his number, which I'd had memorized for years. When I tried to recall it, there was just static. Like tuning into a radio station that's almost there, but not quite. "Morning, stranger." My coworker Melissa poked her head into my cubicle. "How was Emma's birthday dinner? I saw the pics on Instagram. That restaurant looked amazing." I stared at her. "What? The dinner last night?" She tilted her head. "You okay? You look a little pale." Last night I'd been home, alone. I'd ordered Thai food and watched Netflix until I fell asleep on the couch. I remembered the pad Thai. I remembered the show, some true crime documentary about a woman who disappeared in the Olympic National Forest. I remembered waking up with a crick in my neck around 3 a.m. and stumbling to bed. But when I opened Instagram, there they were. Photos of me at some upscale restaurant in Seattle. Candlelit table. Wine glasses. Me and that girl, Emma, laughing at something off camera. The timestamp said 8:47 p.m., when I was supposedly on my couch. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through more photos. Birthday cake, her blowing out candles. 28 of them. Me hugging her, other people I didn't recognize raising glasses in a toast. And in every single photo I looked happy, genuinely, completely happy. The caption on one of them, posted from my account, "Can't believe my little sis is 28, love you to the moon and back, Em." I don't remember writing that. I don't remember being there. I don't remember any of it. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that I could feel the memories trying to form, like pressure building behind my eyes. ghostly impressions of conversations I never had, of a drive to Seattle I never took, of years and years of a relationship that didn't exist. Yeah, I made it to the bathroom just in time to throw up. When I got home that evening, my apartment felt wrong. Nothing dramatic, just little things. The throw pillow on my couch was different. Instead of the plain gray one I'd bought at Target, there was a handmade one with embroidered flowers. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink instead of 1. And on my refrigerator, held up by a magnet from Pike Place Market that I definitely didn't buy, was a note in handwriting I didn't recognize. "Thanks for dinner, bro. Call me when you get home safe." I stood there staring at that note for I don't know how long. The handwriting was neat, a little loopy, feminine, the kind of handwriting a sister might have. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize, except my phone said it was Emma. "Did you make it home okay? That rain was getting pretty bad." I looked outside. The streets were bone dry. It hadn't rained in Portland for over a week. Another buzz. "Hello? Matt, you're worrying me." My fingers moved on their own, typing a response. "Yeah, made it fine. Just tired." I stared at what I'd written. I hadn't meant to respond. I hadn't meant to type those exact words, but there they were, sent with a little delivered notification underneath. "Good. Get some sleep. Love you." I set the phone down on the counter and backed away from it like it was something dangerous. Maybe it was. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes of things that weren't my memories. Birthday parties in a house I'd never lived in. Christmas mornings with presents under a tree I'd never decorated. A girl growing up alongside me, always there, always part of the story. And behind it all, this terrible certainty, something was being erased. Some part of my real life was disappearing to make room for Emma, but I couldn't figure out what. At 3 a.m., I gave up and opened my laptop. I needed proof. Some kind of evidence that my life was what I remembered it to be. I started with Facebook. Scrolled back through years of posts, looking for, I don't know what. Proof that I was an only child? But how do you prove the absence of someone? The further back I went, the more my stomach dropped. Posts I'd made in college. Half of them now mentioned my sister. Spring break trips I'd taken alone now showed her there with me. My parents' anniversary post from 2 years ago, where I'd originally written about being their only child who made it to dinner, now said Emma couldn't make it from Seattle, but at least one of us is here. My parents. Oh God, my parents. I called my mom. I know it was the middle of the night, but I had to hear her voice, had to know what was real. She answered on the 4th ring, groggy and worried. "Matt, honey, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" "Mom." My voice cracked. "Mom, do I have a sister?" Silence. Then, "What? Honey, of course you do. Is Emma okay? Did something happen?" "No, I couldn't finish. What could I say? That I was forgetting my own sister. That I thought my memories were being rewritten. She'd think I was having a breakdown. Maybe I was. "Matthew, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "Nothing. I'm sorry. I just had a weird dream. I'm sorry I woke you. Are you sure you're all right? Do you want us to come down?" No, I'm fine. Go back to sleep. I'm sorry." I hung up before she could ask any more questions. The photo on my desk, the one from her graduation, I'd brought it home with me. I sat on my couch staring at it, trying to force myself to remember. The University of Washington campus, the June sunshine, the way she'd squealed when they called her name, the dinner afterwards at. The memories rushed in like a flood. Anthony's home port in Seattle. She'd ordered the salmon. I'd had the fish and chips. Mom and Dad were there, Dad making bad jokes about finally having one kid with a real job since she was going into nursing and I was just pushing numbers around. I gasped, dropping the photo. Those weren't my memories. They couldn't be, but they felt real. More real than the truth I was clinging to. I could feel Jake, my actual college roommate, my best friend for 4 years, fading like an old photograph left in the sun. His face was getting harder to picture. His voice was becoming a whisper. Soon, I knew he'd be gone entirely. And Emma would have always been there. The next few days were a waking nightmare. Every morning, something else was different. My Netflix history showed shows I'd never watched. All Emma's favorites, apparently. My Amazon orders included birthday gifts, Christmas presents, just because surprises sent to a Seattle address I'd never seen before, but somehow knew was her apartment near Green Lake. The worst part was how natural it all felt. I'd catch myself thinking about calling her, wondering how her shift at the hospital went, remembering inside jokes I'd never made. I started writing things down. Real memories, things I knew were true, but even that became unreliable. I'd write, "Went to Cannon Beach alone, summer 2019 inches," and come back later to find it changed to "Emma and I drove to Cannon Beach." My own handwriting, but not my words. I tried to fight it, tried to hold on to what I knew was real, but do you know how exhausting it is to constantly question your own mind? To look at every photo, every message, every memory, and wonder if it's yours or something else. Thursday night, I cracked. I was looking through an old photo album I'd found in my closet. One I definitely didn't remember putting there. Page after page of this parallel life. Emma, as a baby? Was I really only 2 when she was born? Emma losing her first tooth. I helped pull it out with dental floss. Emma at high school graduation. I drove down from Oregon State to surprise her. And in every photo, we looked happy. We looked like siblings who actually loved each other. My phone rang. Emma, I answered without thinking. Hello? Finally. Her voice was warm, familiar. How was it so familiar? I've been trying to reach you all day. Are you avoiding me? No, I paused. Just busy with work. Too busy for your favorite sister. You're my only sister. The words came out automatically. She laughed. Which makes me your favorite by default. Hey, I have a random question. Do you remember the name of that ice cream place we used to go to, the one near Green Lake with the weird flavors? I didn't know. I'd never been to Green Lake with her. I'd never been to any ice cream place with her, but my mouth opened and I heard myself say, Full Tilt? The one where you always got the Mexican hot chocolate even in winter? Yes, that's it. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I've been having the weirdest dreams lately. Like, memories that feel wrong. And I couldn't remember the name of that place, which is insane because we went there like every week that summer I stayed with you. My blood went cold. What? What kind of dreams? Just weird stuff, like I keep dreaming that I'm an only child. Isn't that bizarre? I mean, could you imagine my life without my annoying big brother? Emma. My throat felt tight. The memories that feel wrong. What do they feel like? She was quiet for a moment. Like trying to remember a movie you saw once a long time ago. You know the plot, but the details are fuzzy. And there's this other memory trying to push through, one that feels more real even though I know it can't be. Does that make sense? It made perfect sense. It made too much sense. Yeah, I whispered, it does. Matt, you sound weird. Are you okay? I wanted to tell her, wanted to scream that she wasn't real, that none of this was real, but looking at the photo album in my lap, at years of a life that never happened but somehow did, I couldn't, because what if I was wrong? What if the memories I thought were real were the fake ones? What if I really did have a sister, and I was losing my mind? I'm fine, I lied, just tired. Get some sleep, okay, and call me tomorrow. We need to plan Dad's birthday. Dad's birthday, in 2 weeks, I knew without checking the calendar. Knew we always took him to that steakhouse he loved. Knew Emma would insist on getting him another golf shirt he'd never wear. Yeah, I said, tomorrow. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness of my apartment, surrounded by evidence of a life I didn't remember living. The pressure in my head was getting worse. The competing memories were starting to overlap, creating this horrible double vision where everything was true and nothing was true at the same time. I thought about Jake again, tried to picture his face. All I could see was empty space where a person should be, like looking at a photo where someone's been cut out. That's when I realized the truth, the horrible, impossible truth. I wasn't gaining a sister, I was trading for one. Everyone I'd ever known, every relationship, every connection, they were all being edited, rewritten. Jake wasn't just forgotten, he was being replaced. His role in my life, every moment we'd shared, every impact he'd had on who I became, all of it was being transferred to Emma. But why? How? And most terrifying of all, what happened to the people who got written out? I grabbed my laptop and started searching. Jake Morrison, Oregon State University. Nothing. Jake Morrison, Portland. Nothing. I tried every spelling, every combination. Social media, public records, anything. It was like he'd never existed at all. My hands were shaking as I kept searching. Other names, other faces that were getting harder to remember. My high school girlfriend. What was her name? Started with an M. Or was it an N? The harder I tried to remember, the more it slipped away. All those people, all those relationships, where did they go? And if I was the only one who remembered them, even a little, what happened when I forgot completely? I called in sick to work Friday. Spent the day trying to document everything I could remember about my real life. Names, dates, places, but it was like trying to hold water in my hands. The more I grasped, the more slipped through my fingers. By afternoon, I'd filled 3 notebooks. By evening, half of what I'd written no longer made sense. Names I didn't recognize. Events that seemed impossible. How could I have gone to a concert in Denver the same night I was apparently at Emma's high school play? The headaches were constant now. 2 realities trying to exist in the same space. I dry swallowed another handful of ibuprofen and kept writing. That's when I found the pattern. Every person who disappeared from my memories. They all had one thing in common. They were important to me. They'd shaped who I was. Jake, who'd taught me to be more outgoing. My ex-girlfriend, Sarah, Samantha, who'd helped me through my grandfather's death. My childhood neighbor who'd introduced me to skateboarding. All of them were being consolidated into Emma. Every lesson, every influence, every meaningful moment. Compressed into one person, one relationship. But compressed things take up less space. What was happening to all that excess life? All those extra years of experiences? My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Found more old photos. Look how cute we were. The attached image showed us as kids at what looked like a state fair. Cotton candy, Ferris wheel in the background. I was maybe 8, she was 6. The metadata said it was taken in Salem, August 2002. In August 2002, I'd been in Salem, at the state fair, but I'd been with... The memory slipped away before I could grasp it. Someone else had been there. Someone who wasn't Emma. But their face was gone, their name was gone. All that remained was the ghost of a feeling. That wrongness you get when you know something's been moved but can't figure out what. I was losing time now. I'd sit down to write something and suddenly it would be hours later. The notebooks were filling themselves. My handwriting, but stories I didn't remember. Camping trips with Emma, teaching her to drive, helping her move into her first apartment. The life we'd shared was becoming more real than the life I'd lived. Saturday morning, I woke up on my couch, still in yesterday's clothes. My phone had 37 missed calls. Emma, Mom, Dad. Numbers I didn't recognize but somehow knew were other family members. Aunts and uncles I'd never had, cousins who'd sprung into existence overnight. The voicemails all said variations of the same thing. Where was I? Why wasn't I answering? Emma was worried sick. I played one from her. Matt, please call me back. I know you said you were feeling weird the other day, but this isn't like you. I'm driving down there if I don't hear from you in the next hour. Driving down. From Seattle. 3 hours away. But somehow, I knew she'd make it in 2.5 because she always sped when she was worried, and I'd given up trying to break her of the habit years ago. No, I hadn't. That wasn't my memory. But it was. Both things were true. She was my sister and she wasn't. She was driving down to check on me because that's what she did. What she'd always done. Ever since that time in college when I'd gone radio silent during finals and she'd shown up at my dorm with soup and flashcards. I pressed my palms against my temples, trying to push the foreign memories out. But they weren't foreign anymore. They were mine. More mine than the fading shadows of whatever came before. My laptop was still open from the night before. The document I'd been typing was gone, replaced by something else. A birthday card design. Happy 29th birthday, Emma, it read. From your favorite brother. Her birthday was in 3 days. I knew this with the same certainty I knew my own name. We had plans. Dinner at her favorite restaurant. The present I'd ordered was already wrapped, hidden in my closet. I lurched to my bedroom and threw open the closet door. There, on the top shelf, was a wrapped box. Silver paper, blue bow, exactly where I'd put it last week, except I hadn't put it there last week. I'd never seen it before. Inside was a necklace. Delicate silver chain with a small compass pendant. On the back, engraved, so you can always find your way home. M, I knew why I'd chosen it. She'd gotten lost hiking last summer. Turned around on a trail near Mount Rainier. It had taken search and rescue 6 hours to find her. She'd laughed it off afterwards, but I'd seen how scared she was. How she'd hugged me extra tight when I picked her up from the ranger station. That memory felt real. More real than anything else in my life. I could smell the pine trees, feel the relief flooding through me when I saw her emerge from the forest. The way she'd said my name. The doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I answered. Knew the pattern of her knock that followed. 3 quick taps, pause, 2 more. Our secret knock from when we were kids and I wouldn't let her into my room. I opened the door, and there she was. Emma, my sister. She looked exactly like her pictures, but also nothing like them. Familiar in that bone-deep way family is familiar. She had Dad's eyes, Mom's smile, that little scar on her chin from when she'd fallen off her bike and I'd had to pedal home with her on my handlebars, blood everywhere, both of us crying. You look terrible, she said, pushing past me into the apartment. When's the last time you ate actual food? I couldn't answer. Couldn't speak, because looking at her I could see it happening. Watch in real time as 28 years of false memories crystallized into truth. Feel the last gossamer threads of my other life, my real life, snapping one by one. She was saying something about ordering Thai food, our usual order. Patsy U for her, drunken noodles for me, extra spring rolls because we could never agree on who got the last one. Matt. She was staring at me, concern creasing her forehead. You're scaring me. What's wrong? What could I say? That I was watching myself disappear. That everyone I'd ever known who wasn't her was already gone, erased so thoroughly that even I could barely remember they'd existed. That she was a cuckoo bird who'd pushed all the other eggs out of the nest. But looking at her face, she didn't know. This wasn't something she was doing. She was as much a victim as I was. Or maybe we were both the victims. Maybe we were both the cuckoo birds, pushed into each other's lives by something we couldn't understand. My voice came out rough. I've been having weird dreams. She sat on my couch, tucking her legs under her the way she always did. Had always done. Would always have always done. Me too, ever since Monday, these bizarre dreams where... She trailed off, shaking her head. Where you don't have a brother, I finished. Her eyes went wide. How did you know? Because I've been having dreams where I don't have a sister. We stared at each other across the coffee table. Two people who were family, who weren't family, who had always been family, who had never met before, who had shared 28 years, who had shared nothing. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Yeah, but you're—" She gestured helplessly. "You're Matt. You're my brother. I remember everything. Teaching you to tie your shoes because you kept doing it backwards. You picking me up from that awful date in high school. Fighting over who got the bigger half of the wishbone every Thanksgiving. I remembered all of that too. Remembered it happening. Remembered it not happening. Remembered being an only child and never being alone. The cognitive dissonance was like a knife between my eyes." "Something's wrong," I said. "Something's happening to us, to our memories. But which ones are real?" That was the question, wasn't it? Because sitting there with her, my sister, felt more real than any alternative. The love I felt for her, protective, annoyed, fond, complicated in the way only sibling love can be, and that felt too genuine to be fake. But then I thought about Jake, about the space where he used to be, about all the people who'd been edited out of existence to make room for this relationship. "Maybe," I said slowly, "maybe they both are." She leaned forward. "What do you mean? What if—" I struggled to put it into words. "What if there are multiple versions of our lives, and somehow they're collapsing, merging? What if you're my sister in one version and not in another, and now those two realities are trying to become one?" It sounded insane, but no more insane than everything else. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, if that's true, which version survives? I didn't have an answer, but I thought about the pattern I'd noticed, how all my important relationships were being absorbed into her, how she was becoming everyone who'd ever mattered to me. "I think," I said, "whichever one is simpler." Simpler? One sister instead of a dozen friends. One central relationship instead of many scattered ones. Like, I grasped for an analogy, like defragmenting a hard drive, consolidating data. "That's a terrible analogy," she said, but there was no heat in it. Just the kind of reflexive teasing that came from years of what? Being siblings? Or was this response too borrowed from someone else? Some other relationship that had been folded into this one? My phone buzzed. Mom, texting to ask if Emma had made it safely. "She's worried about you," Emma said, reading over my shoulder. "They both are. Said you called the other night confused about me." "I didn't know you existed," I admitted. And now? Now, I couldn't imagine a world without her. The false memories weren't false anymore. They were just memories, my memories, our memories. Now, I can't remember not knowing you. She smiled sadly. I want to say that's sweet, but given the circumstances. Yeah. We ordered Thai food. Ate in comfortable silence while some cooking show played on TV. Normal, mundane. Exactly what we'd done 100 times before, except we hadn't, except we had. I kept waiting for her to flicker, to fade like the others had. But she stayed solid. Real. More real with every passing minute. As night fell, she helped me look through the notebooks I'd filled. Page after page of increasingly frantic writing, trying to preserve memories that no longer made sense. Names without faces, events without context. "Who's Jake?" she asked, pointing to one frequently repeated name. "I don't know," I said. And I didn't, not anymore. The name meant nothing. Just marks on a page. "You wrote here that he was your best friend, your roommate in college." I studied my own handwriting, tried to summon any recognition, any emotion connected to that name. Nothing. "I lived alone in college," I said, "until you stayed with me that summer between freshman and sophomore year, remember? You were fighting with Mom and Dad about changing majors? From pre-med to nursing, she said automatically. They thought I was giving up. But you weren't. You just wanted to help people more directly. Less theory, more practice. You're the only one who understood that. We smiled at each other. The memory was warm, comfortable. Whether it had happened last week or last decade or never at all didn't seem to matter anymore. But then I noticed something. The notebook in her hands. The pages were blank. All that frantic writing, all those desperate attempts to preserve my original life, gone. "Emma," I said slowly, "what do you see on those pages?" She frowned. "Nothing. They're empty." I took the notebook from her, flipped through it. She was right. Page after page of nothing. Even as I watched, the few remaining words faded like they'd been written in disappearing ink. "It's accelerating," I said. "What is?" "The consolidation. The rewriting. Soon there won't be any evidence left that things were ever different." "Maybe that's for the best," she said quietly. I stared at her. "How can you say that?" "Because," she met my eyes, "because I don't want to not be your sister. Even if it's not real, even if it's some kind of cosmic mistake, I love you. I have 28 years of loving you. How can I want that to disappear?" She was right. That was the horrible, beautiful truth of it. The life we'd been given, forced into, was a good one. We were close. We were family. We were there for each other in all the ways that mattered. Did it matter if it was built on the graves of other relationships? Did those people, Jake, whoever he was, and all the others, did they cease to exist? Or did they just exist differently now? Their influence filtered through Emma instead of standing on their own. I didn't know, and I was running out of time to figure it out, because I could feel the last of my resistance crumbling. The questions were getting harder to hold on to. Why was I fighting this? Why was I trying to remember people who'd never existed when my sister was right here, real and present, and needing me to be okay? "You should stay tonight," I said. "It's late. Take the couch." "Already planning on it," she said. "Someone needs to make sure you eat breakfast tomorrow. Normal, natural, the way things had always been, the way things would always have always been." I woke up Sunday morning to the smell of coffee and pancakes. Emma was in my kitchen, humming off-key to some pop song playing on her phone. She'd stolen one of my hoodies. The Oregon State one she always claimed was hers anyway because she'd bought it for me for Christmas. "Morning, Space Cadet," she said without turning around. "I hope you have syrup because I'm not eating these plain." "Cabinet above the microwave," I answered automatically. It was so normal, so perfectly, mundanely normal. Sister making breakfast, brother providing syrup. Sunday morning rituals stretching back years. I padded to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. Same face, same tired eyes. But something was different. Some tension I'd been carrying was gone. The headache that had been my constant companion for days had vanished. I felt settled, like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. When I came back out, Emma had set 2 plates on my small dining table. The pancakes were slightly lopsided. She'd never been great at getting them round, but they smelled perfect. "So," she said, pouring coffee, "want to talk about the weird dream stuff? Or should we just pretend everything's normal?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Somewhere, in notebooks that were now blank, I documented another life. A life where this breakfast wasn't happening. Where this person across from me didn't exist. But what good would it do to chase those ghosts? They were gone. As gone as if they'd never been. "Everything is normal," I said. She studied me over her mug. "You sure?" "Yeah, I think I was just stressed. Work's been crazy and I haven't been sleeping well. You always were terrible at taking care of yourself, she said, but fondly. Good thing you've got me. Yeah, I agreed. Good thing. We spent the day doing ordinary sibling things. Walked around the neighborhood, grabbed lunch at the food carts. She helped me clean my apartment, complaining the whole time about my organizational skills. And not once did I question it. Not once did I wonder about the life I'd lost. Because I hadn't lost anything. This was my life. Always had been. As evening approached and she prepared to drive back to Seattle, I found myself thinking about patterns, about the strange dream I'd had where memories could be rewritten. What a bizarre concept. How could you remember something that never happened? How could you forget something that did? Drive safe, I told her at the door. Text when you get home. Always do, she said, hugging me tight. Love you, nerd. Love you too. I watched her go, waving as her car turned the corner. My sister. My only sister. The person who'd been there for every important moment of my life. Back in my apartment, I found myself drawn to the photo album we'd looked through. All those memories, perfectly preserved. Birthday parties, graduations, family vacations, a life fully lived and thoroughly documented. On the last page was a photo I hadn't noticed before. Recent, from the looks of it. Emma and me at Multnomah Falls, last month's hiking trip. I remembered that day. Perfect weather. We'd made it all the way to the top, legs burning, completely out of breath. But the view had been worth it. In the photo, we're grinning at the camera, sweaty and exhausted and happy. Behind us, the falls cascade down, eternal and unchanging. I traced a finger over our faces, my sister and me, the way it had always been, the way it would always be. That night, I slept without dreams. No competing memories, no fractured realities, just peaceful, empty darkness. When I woke up Monday morning, everything was clear. Crystal clear. I had a normal life, a good life, a job I enjoyed, an apartment I loved, and a family that cared about me. Especially Emma, my sister who lived in Seattle, who worked as a nurse at Harborview, who still couldn't make round pancakes despite years of trying, who knew me better than anyone. The strange thoughts I'd been having, about people who didn't exist, about memories being replaced, those were just stress, just my brain playing tricks on me. Everyone had weird dreams sometimes. Everyone occasionally felt like their life wasn't quite right. But my life was right, exactly as it should be. I got ready for work, humming the same off-key tune Emma had been humming yesterday. Our mom always said we had the same terrible pitch. Genetic, probably, one of 1,000 little ways we were alike. At the office, Melissa asked how my weekend was. Good, I said. My sister came down from Seattle. We just hung out. That's nice. You two are so close. Yeah, I agreed. Always have been. And it was true. Every word of it was true, had always been true, would always have always been true. The photo on my desk, Emma at her graduation, caught the morning light. I straightened it slightly, smiling at the memory. She'd been so nervous that day, convinced she was going to trip walking across the stage, but of course she didn't. Emma never did anything without grace, even when she was terrified. My phone buzzed. Text from her, "Thanks again for this weekend, I needed that." "Anytime," I texted back. That's what big brothers are for. 3 dots appeared as she typed, then, "Love you." "Love you too," I replied. And I meant it. With every fiber of my being, I meant it. The rest of the day passed normally. Work, lunch, more work, the usual Monday grind. But something nagged at the back of my mind. Some half-forgotten thought that kept trying to surface. On my lunch break, I found myself Googling false memories. Just idle curiosity. The results talked about how unreliable human memory could be. How we often remembered things that never happened, or forgot things that did. how every time we recalled a memory, we changed it slightly, until the memory of the memory replaced the original, fascinating stuff. But not relevant to me. My memories were solid, consistent. A lifetime of experiences, each one building on the last. That evening, I called my parents. Mom answered on the second ring. "Hi, sweetie. How are you?" "Good. Just wanted to check in." "That's nice. Dad's out golfing, but I'll tell him you called." "Did Emma make it home okay Saturday?" "Yeah, she texted when she got there." "Good. You know how I worry when she drives in the dark." "She's almost 30, Mom. You're both still my babies," she said, and I could hear her smile. "Speaking of which, don't forget Dad's birthday is coming up. Already on my calendar, Emma and I are coordinating. You two always take such good care of us." We chatted for a few more minutes, normal parent-child conversation. She asked about work, I asked about her garden, everything exactly as it should be. But after I hung up, that nagging feeling intensified. Something about the conversation felt rehearsed? No, that wasn't right. Familiar. Like we'd had this exact exchange before. But of course we had. We talked every week. The rhythms of our conversations were well established after years of repetition. I shook off the feeling and went to make dinner, but as I opened the fridge, I froze. There, front and center, was a container of pad thai, from the place down the street, with a sticky note on top, for M. Jake. The name hit me like a physical blow. Jake, my roommate, my best friend, my nothing. The name meant nothing. Just 3 letters arranged in a familiar pattern. I must know someone named Jake from work. Or maybe it was short for Jacob. Did I know any Jacobs? I opened the container. The food was fresh, still warm. Someone had just delivered it. But who? And why? My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Matt?" The voice was male, worried. "Matt, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for a week. What happened? Why haven't you been answering my calls?" "I'm sorry. Who is this?" Silence. Then, It's Jake. Your roommate? Dude, what's going on? Are you okay?" "I think you have the wrong number," I said. "I don't have a roommate." "Matt, this isn't funny. I know we had that fight about the dishes, but come on." "I live alone," I said firmly. "Always have since college." More silence. When he spoke again, his voice was different, smaller. You really don't remember me?" "There's nothing to remember. I don't know you. We've lived together for 3 years. We met at that bar, trivia night. You said my team name was terrible, but my movie knowledge was impressive. Matt, we're best friends." Something twisted in my chest, a pain I couldn't name. But stronger than the pain was the certainty. This person was wrong. Confused, maybe unstable. "I'm hanging up now," I said. "Please don't call again." "Matt, wait, something's wrong. Something's happening. People are forgetting. Not just you, others too. My mom called yesterday and asked why I had photos of a stranger on my Instagram. But it's you, Matt. They're all you. Our camping trip, your birthday party. That time we drove to Vegas and you won $60 on penny slots." I hung up, blocked the number, threw the pad thai in the trash. My hands were shaking. Why were my hands shaking? Some crazy person had called with an elaborate story, that was all. It happened. People had breakdowns, constructed elaborate fantasies. But the food, how did he know my name, my number, my address? No. There had to be an explanation. A rational, logical explanation that didn't involve impossible memories and people who didn't exist claiming to be my best friend. I called Emma. "Twice in one day?" She answered. "I'm honored." "Hey, sorry. Weird question. Do I know anyone named Jake?" "Jake? I don't think so. Why?" "Got a strange call. Wrong number, I think, but he knew my name." "Creepy. You should be careful. Maybe it's some kind of scam?" "Yeah, maybe." "You sound freaked out. You okay?" Was I? My heart was racing. My apartment suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Like something was missing. But nothing was missing. Everything was exactly where it should be. "I'm fine," I said. "Just a weird day. Want me to come down? I could call in sick tomorrow." No, I'm okay, really." "If you're sure. But Matt, if you get any more weird calls, maybe tell someone? File a police report or something?" "Yeah, good idea." After we hung up, I walked through my apartment. Checking. For what, I didn't know. Evidence of another person? Signs that someone else lived here? But everything was mine. Only mine. Always had been. The second bedroom I used as an office. Had I always used it as an office? Of course I had. What else would it be? The desk, the bookshelves, the filing cabinet? All exactly where I'd put them when I moved in. When I moved in. When? The memory was fuzzy, but moving memories always were, weren't they? So much chaos, so many boxes. Who remembered details? I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. Social media, thousands of photos going back years. I scrolled through them methodically, looking for something. Anything out of place. But they all featured the same people. Family, Emma, coworkers, a few college acquaintances. My life, documented in excruciating detail. No Jake, no mysterious roommate. No best friend I'd somehow forgotten. Because he didn't exist, couldn't exist. My life was full. Complete, there was no room for anyone else. But as I scrolled, I noticed something odd. Gaps. Photos taken at angles that suggested someone else had been cropped out. Events I'd apparently attended alone that didn't make sense solo. A camping trip where I'd somehow set up a 2-person tent by myself. A road trip with 2 cups in the car's cup holders. Little things. Things that meant nothing. Things that meant everything. I closed the laptop and put my head in my hands. The headache was coming back. That pressure, like something trying to push its way in, or out. No, I was overthinking, creating patterns where none existed. The human brain was wired to see connections, even false ones. Especially when stressed. I needed sleep. Everything would be clearer in the morning. But sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes of something. A life just slightly different from the one I knew. The same apartment, but arranged differently. The same job, but with different coworkers. The same family, but no. Same family. Mom, Dad, Emma, always Emma, my sister, my constant. The one fixed point in a world that suddenly felt unstable. I must have dozed off eventually because I woke to my alarm, still on the couch, neck stiff and mouth dry. Morning light streamed through the windows, harsh and unforgiving. My phone showed missed calls, all from the same unknown number. I deleted them without listening to the voicemails. At work, I threw myself into spreadsheets and reports. Numbers were clean, logical. They didn't shift when you weren't looking. They didn't claim to be something they weren't. Earth to Matt. Melissa was standing by my desk. "I've been calling your name for like a minute." "Sorry, focused." "I can see that. Just wanted to know if you're coming to lunch. We're trying that new sushi place." Lunch, right. Normal Tuesday activity, normal coworkers, normal life. "Sure," I said. "Sounds good." But at lunch, surrounded by my chattering colleagues, I felt disconnected. Like I was watching from outside my body. They were talking about a TV show I knew I watched, but couldn't quite remember. Making jokes about office politics that should have been familiar but weren't. "You're quiet today," Melissa observed. "Everything okay?" "Just tired," I said. The universal excuse. "You've been tired a lot lately. Maybe you should see a doctor." "Maybe," I agreed. But what would I tell a doctor? That I was having dreams about a life that didn't exist. That strangers were calling, claiming to know me. That sometimes I looked at my own memories and saw the seams where they'd been stitched together. No. Those were crazy thoughts. The kind of thoughts that got you prescribed medication and mandatory time off. The afternoon crawled by. More spreadsheets, more reports. more pretending everything was normal when normal itself felt like a costume that didn't quite fit. Finally, mercifully, 5 o'clock arrived. I packed up slowly, dreading going home, dreading the silence of my apartment where thoughts could run wild. Maybe I should call Emma, drive up to Seattle for an impromptu visit. Being around her always made things clearer, always reminded me who I was. Matt, son, brother, accountant. 29 years of accumulated identity, all true, all real, all mine. The phone rang as I reached my car. Unknown number. Different from yesterday, but somehow I knew. "Please," the voice said before I could speak. "Please just listen. I know you don't remember me. I know this sounds insane, but something is happening. Something big, and you're not the only one being affected." I'm hanging up. "The false memories aren't false," he said quickly. "They're from somewhere else. Another version. Another timeline. Something. And they're overwriting the real ones. There's nothing false about my memories. What about the gaps, the inconsistencies, the things that don't quite add up?" My hand tightened on the phone. "How do you—" "Because I'm experiencing them too. People I've known for years suddenly don't recognize me. Photos where I've been erased. It's like I'm being edited out of my own life. That's impossible," I wanted to say, but was it? Was it really more impossible than the alternative? "Meet me," he said. "Just once. Let me show you the evidence. After that, if you still think I'm crazy, I'll leave you alone. I promise." I should have said no, should have hung up and blocked this number too, should have driven home and called Emma and let her voice remind me what was real. Instead, I heard myself asking, "Where?" He gave me an address, a coffee shop downtown not far from my office. Public, safe, or as safe as meeting a possible crazy person could be. 1 hour, I said. That's all you get. That's all I need. I sat in my car for a long moment after hanging up. This was a mistake. I knew it was a mistake, but the gaps he'd mentioned, I'd seen them too, felt them, the places where my life didn't quite match up. Maybe he had answers. Or maybe he was just another lost soul trying to make sense of a world that had shifted beneath his feet. Either way, I had to know. The coffee shop was mostly empty when I arrived. Tuesday evening lull. I recognized him immediately, though I couldn't say how. Average height, brown hair, nervous energy. He was sitting in the back corner with a laptop and a stack of printed pages. "Matt," he said, standing as I approached. "Thank you for coming." 1 hour, I reminded him. "Right, of course. Do you want coffee? I'm buying." "I'm fine." We sat across from each other, awkward as strangers. Which we were, weren't we? "So," I said, "evidence." He turned the laptop toward me. "This is my Facebook. Look at the photos from 2019. I looked. Dozens of pictures, parties, trips, everyday moments. And in many of them, a blank space where someone had clearly been removed. The composition was off, the grouping unnatural. Now, look at this." He pulled up another window. Same photos, but intact. And in every one, there I was. Smiling, laughing, living a life I didn't remember. "These are doctored," I said. "They're not. I can show you the metadata, the originals. But that's not the point. The point is," he leaned forward. "Do you remember Emma's high school graduation?" "Of course. We drove down from—" I paused. Where had we driven from? I was in college, but where? "Oregon State," he supplied. "We drove down together, you, me, and Lindsay. My car broke down halfway and we had to call your dad for a ride." Lindsay, another name that meant nothing and everything. "Emma wasn't in high school when I was in college," I said. "The age gap isn't—" But the math wouldn't work. I was 2 years older than her. If I was in college, she should have been right behind me. But I distinctly remembered her high school graduation. The cheap yellow gown. The proud tears. The memories don't fit, Jake said gently, because they're from different versions, different timelines or realities or whatever you want to call them. They're being squeezed together, and people like me, we're what's getting squeezed out. This is insane. Is it? Is it more insane than suddenly not recognizing your best friend? Than having clear memories of events that couldn't have happened? I wanted to argue, but the headache was back, pounding, relentless. Why? I managed. Why is this happening? I don't know, but I have a theory. He pulled out some of the printed pages. I've been tracking the patterns. Who disappears, who remains. And there's a consistency, the people who vanish. We're redundant. Redundant. We serve the same emotional or developmental purpose as someone else. In your case, Emma. She's your confidant, your support system, your closest relationship. All the roles I used to fill. Used to, I repeated. But you don't remember Emma? His face scrunched in concentration. No. But also yes? It's like there are two sets of memories fighting in my head. In one, you have a sister. In the other, you don't. But the sister version is winning. Because it's real. Or because it's simpler, he countered. One person instead of many. Cleaner narrative, more efficient. Efficient. That word again. Like reality was a computer program being optimized. Even if I believed you, I said, what am I supposed to do about it? Fight to remember people who might not exist? Reject a sister I love for friends I don't recall? I'm not asking you to reject anyone, I'm just... He looked lost suddenly. Young. Scared. I'm disappearing, Matt. Every day fewer people remember me. Soon I'll be gone completely. And I needed someone to know I was real, even if just for a moment. The pain in his voice was genuine. Whatever was happening, he believed it absolutely. Show me more, I heard myself say. For the next 40 minutes, he laid out the evidence. Photos, messages, videos. A life we'd apparently shared, documented in exhausting detail. 3 years of inside jokes and shared meals and ordinary friendship. And the strangest part? Some of it felt familiar. Not like memory exactly, but like déjà vu. The ghost of something that might have been. Do you remember, he asked, finally, the night we decided to be roommates? We were at that terrible sports bar, the one with the sticky floors. You'd just broken up with... He frowned. I can't remember her name, but you were a mess, and I said you could crash on my couch until you found a place. Except you never left. I didn't remember, but I felt the shape of it. The sadness, the gratitude, the beginning of something important. I should go, I said. Matt, I need to think. He nodded, gathering his papers. I get it, this is a lot. But if you remember anything, even a fragment, call me? Yeah. But we both knew I wouldn't. I drove home in silence, head spinning. Either I was entertaining the delusions of a disturbed individual or reality itself was broken. Neither option was particularly comforting. Back in my apartment, I did the only thing that made sense. I called Emma. Hey, she answered. Good timing. I just got off shift. How was work? Exhausting. 2 car accidents and a kitchen fire. You'd think people would be more careful on Tuesdays. Normal conversation. Normal sister. The sound of her voice settled something in my chest. Can I ask you something weird? I said. Always. Do you ever feel like something's missing? Like there's supposed to be more, but you can't figure out what? She was quiet for a moment. Sometimes, but I think everyone feels that way. Like we're all waiting for our real lives to start, not realizing this is it. Yeah, maybe. Is this about those dreams? The ones where we weren't siblings. Yeah. I've been thinking about those, she said. And I realized something. Even in the dreams, we find each other. Different circumstances, different relationships, but always connected. Maybe that means something. Like what? Like some bonds transcend whatever reality throws at them. Like you and me. We're meant to be family, one way or another. My eyes burned suddenly. I love you, Em. Love you too, weirdo. Now stop being philosophical and tell me about your day. So I did. Edited version, of course. No mysterious Jake, no impossible memories. Just Tuesday at the office and bad sushi for lunch. This was real. This conversation, this connection, whatever else might be uncertain, Emma was my constant. My anchor. After we hung up, I made dinner, watched TV, went through all the normal motions of a normal evening, and if I double-checked the locks and drew the curtains tighter than usual, well, it had been a strange few days. That night, I dreamed of empty picture frames. Dozens of them, all waiting to be filled. And in the distance, voices calling names I almost recognized. I woke Wednesday with a decision made. Whatever was happening, memories shifting, reality restructuring itself, I couldn't fight it, didn't want to fight it. The life I had was good, complete, everyone I needed was accounted for. If there had been others, and I wasn't saying there had been, they were gone now. As gone as if they'd never existed. And maybe that was kindness. Better to vanish completely than to linger as ghosts in someone else's story. I deleted the unknown numbers from my phone. Threw away the notes I'd found in my jacket pocket. Addresses I didn't recognize in handwriting that might have been mine. Cleaned out the closet and found only my own clothes, my own shoes, my own life exactly as it should be. By evening, the world felt solid again. Stable. Real in all the ways that mattered. Emma called to remind me about Dad's birthday dinner on Saturday. I promised to pick up the cake. We debated whether 62 candles would set off the smoke alarm. Normal sibling banter. Normal life. And if sometimes I caught myself pausing mid-sentence, like I was waiting for someone else to finish the thought, well, everyone had habits, everyone had quirks. The human mind was remarkably adaptable. It could accept almost anything, given time. Could build new patterns over old ones until you couldn't see the seams. Thursday passed without incident. Friday, too. The strange calls stopped, the dreams faded. By Saturday, picking up Dad's birthday cake, I could barely remember what I'd been so upset about. Stress, probably. Too much work, not enough sleep. Classic millennial problems. The birthday dinner was perfect. Dad loved the golf shirt Emma had picked out. She always knew just what to get him. Mom cried when we brought out the cake. Happy tears, she insisted, though we all knew she was thinking about how fast time went. I'm so lucky, she said, hugging us both. Two wonderful kids who still make time for their old parents. Always, Emma and I said in unison, then laughed at the synchronization. This was my family. My real, true family. Everything else was just noise. That night, driving home, I felt complete, settled, like the last piece of a puzzle sliding into place. Whatever strange thoughts I'd been having, whatever impossible things I'd been imagining, they were gone now, evaporated like morning mist. My phone buzzed at a red light. Emma, texting, "Thanks for today. Mom and Dad needed that." We all did. I texted back, and it was true. We all needed the reminder of what was real, what was solid. Family. Love. Connection that went deeper than memory. When I got home, my apartment felt exactly right. Every object in its place. Every photo showing exactly who it should. My life, complete and unedited. I slept deeply that night. No dreams, no disturbances. Just peaceful darkness. Sunday morning came gentle and quiet. Coffee on the balcony, a book I'd been meaning to finish. Emma texted around noon asking if I wanted to grab lunch next weekend. I agreed immediately. This was life. Simple, straightforward, exactly as it should be. One job, one family, One sister who knew me better than anyone. What more could anyone want? The last traces of wrongness, of questions that didn't need asking, faded like pencil marks under an eraser. Soon, even the memory of forgetting would be forgotten, and I would live happily, contentedly, in the only life I'd ever known. The life where Emma had always been my sister. The life where no one else had ever filled that role. The life that was real in all the ways that mattered, and would continue to be real forever and ever, world without end. But you know what's funny? Sometimes, just sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I find myself looking through old photos on my phone, and every once in a while I'll see one that makes me pause. Something about the composition, the way I'm standing, like there should be someone else there. And for just a second, less than a second, I almost see him. Brown hair, easy smile, my best friend who never existed, Jake. But then I blink, and the moment passes, and I remember the truth. I've always been an only child who has a sister. I've always lived alone with a roommate who was never there. My memories have always been exactly this way, shifting and solid at the same time. And if that doesn't make sense, well, does anything really? Does it matter if the life you're living is the one you started with, as long as it's the one you have now? I don't think about it too much. Can't, really. The thoughts slip away like water, replaced by the certainty of Emma, of family, of the life I know is mine. But sometimes I save photos of empty spaces, just in case. Just so someone, somewhere, remembers that things weren't always exactly as they are. That maybe we all had different stories once, before the consolidation, before the simplification, before our memories were replaced, one by one, with something cleaner, something neater, something that fit better in the reduced space of whatever reality had become. I love my sister. She's always been there for me. She always will be. And if she's also everyone else I've ever loved, compressed into one perfect relationship, well, there are worse fates than being completely, utterly, irrevocably known by exactly one person. Aren't there? I'm asking because, honestly, I can't remember anymore. And I'm starting to think that's exactly the point. Sweet dreams. Story number 2. The nurse wouldn't look me in the eye. That should have been my first warning. Madison. Her name tag said Madison. She just kept staring at my chart, flipping through the pages like she was reading the same line over and over again. Her fingers trembled slightly, just enough to make the papers rustle. "Is everything okay?" I asked, shifting on the crinkly exam table paper. The sound seemed too loud in the small room. She finally looked up, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The doctor will be in shortly, Mr. Parker." Then she practically ran out of the room. I sat there for what felt like hours, listening to the hum of the fluorescent lights above me. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air. Outside, I could hear the muffled sounds of the Seattle clinic, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, the occasional cough from the waiting room. Normal sounds. Everything was normal, except it wasn't. 3 weeks ago, I'd come in for a routine physical, just a checkup. My company required it for the health insurance discount. Draw some blood, check the vitals, get my clean bill of health, and move on. Simple. But then they called me back, said there was an anomaly in my results. They needed to run more tests. The door finally opened and Dr. Chen walked in. I'd been seeing him for 5 years. Usually he greeted me with a joke about the Seahawks or complained about the rain. Today he closed the door carefully behind him and sat down without a word. "James," he said. And something in the way he said my name made my stomach drop. "We need to talk about your test results." And now our story begins. Dr. Chen set my file on the desk between us. His movements were precise, deliberate, like he was handling something fragile or dangerous. "James, I want to start by saying that what I'm about to tell you is unprecedented. In 30 years of practice, I've never seen anything like this." My mouth went dry. "Is it cancer?" "No." He paused, choosing his words carefully. Your blood work shows something we can't explain. When we sequenced your DNA for the expanded panel you requested, the ancestry thing, I interrupted. My girlfriend Sarah wanted us to do it together. You know, see where we came from before we... I trailed off, noticing his expression. Yes, the ancestry test. Well, the lab found something unusual. At first, they thought it was contamination. They ran the test 3 more times. He opened the folder, revealing sheets of data I couldn't understand. The results were consistent every time. I leaned forward. What kind of unusual? Approximately 12% of your genetic material doesn't match any known human sequences. The words hung in the air between us. In fact, it doesn't match any known terrestrial organism. I laughed. It came out sharp, nervous. That's not possible. There must be a mistake. That's what we thought. We sent samples to 3 independent labs, UCLA, Johns Hopkins, and a private facility in Switzerland. He pulled out more papers. They all confirmed the same thing. You have DNA sequences that we've never seen before. Not in humans, not in any animal, plant, or microorganism on Earth. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the edge of the exam table. So, what are you saying? That I'm... What? An alien? I don't know what you are, James. His voice was gentle but firm. Physically, you appear completely human. Your organs, your blood cells, everything we can observe is normal. But at a genetic level, there's something else there. This is insane. I stood up, pacing the small room. I'm from Portland. My parents are from Portland. I have baby pictures, for God's sake. I played Little League. I went to Lincoln High School. I work in accounting at Microsoft. I'm boring. I'm literally the most boring person alive. I understand this is difficult to process. Difficult? I whirled around. You're telling me I'm not human. I'm telling you that you have non-human DNA. That's all we know for certain. He stood up, placing a hand on my shoulder. James, I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to think very carefully about your answers. I nodded, sinking back onto the table. Have you ever experienced anything unusual? Medically speaking. Healing faster than normal. Sensing things others couldn't. Anything at all that seemed different? I started to say no, then stopped. There were things. Little things I'd always explained away. I've never been sick, I said slowly. Not once, not even a cold. He made a note. Go on. And I've always been good with animals. They just, like me, even mean dogs, feral cats, they come right up to me. I rubbed my face. But that doesn't mean anything. Some people are just good with animals. What else? I thought back, really thought. Sometimes I know things. Not like psychic stuff, just intuition, I guess, like when something bad is about to happen. I get this feeling in my gut. Sarah calls it my spidey sense. I laughed weakly. But everyone has intuition, right? Dr. Chen wrote everything down. Anything else? Even if it seems insignificant. My eyes. The words came out before I could stop them. In certain light, Sarah says they look different, almost like they're reflecting light that isn't there. But that's nothing. Probably just the way the light hits them. James, I'm going to be direct with you. We don't know what this means. It could be a mutation. It could be something else entirely. But we need to do more tests, and... He hesitated. We may need to involve some specialized researchers. What kind of researchers? Geneticists, evolutionary biologists, maybe some people from the CDC. He saw my expression and quickly added, just as a precaution, we don't think you're contagious or dangerous, but this is uncharted territory. I felt like I was drowning in air. What do I tell Sarah? My family? My job? For now, tell them nothing. Until we understand more, this needs to stay between us. He handed me a card. This is Dr. Elizabeth Morrison. She's a geneticist at the University of Washington. She's agreed to see you tomorrow, off the books. Can you make it?" I took the card with numb fingers. Yeah, I can make it." "James," his voice stopped me at the door. "Whatever this is, we'll figure it out. You're still you. Remember that." But as I walked out of the clinic into the gray Seattle afternoon, I wasn't sure that was true anymore. That night, I sat across from Sarah at our favorite Thai place in Capitol Hill, pushing pad siabu around my plate. The restaurant buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses, but it all felt distant, muffled. "You're quiet," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "Bad day at work?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. Brown eyes full of concern, dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. We'd been together for 3 years, moved in together last month. We had plans. Normal, human plans. "Just tired," I lied. She squeezed my hand. "Your eyes are doing that thing again." "What thing?" "That shimmer thing. Like there's light moving under the surface." She leaned closer. "It's actually kind of beautiful, like looking at the ocean at night." I pulled my hand back, maybe too quickly. "It's just the restaurant lighting." "James, what's wrong? You've been weird ever since your doctor's appointment." Her voice dropped. "Is everything okay? The tests?" "Everything's fine." Another lie. They were coming so easily now. Just routine stuff. But that night I couldn't sleep. I stood in our bathroom, staring at my reflection. Same face I'd seen for 28 years. Square jaw, a slightly crooked nose from when I broke it in college. Unremarkable brown hair. But my eyes. Sarah was right. In the dim light there was something. A faint luminescence, like bioluminescent plankton stirring in dark water. I leaned closer to the mirror, and for just a moment I could have sworn I saw something moving in the depths of my irises. Patterns, symbols, something writhing just beneath the surface. I blinked, and it was gone. The next morning, I told Sarah I had an early meeting and drove to the University of Washington campus. Dr. Morrison's lab was in the basement of the biology building, down a hallway that smelled like formaldehyde and old coffee. She was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp eyes behind thick-rimmed glasses. She didn't shake my hand. "Mr. Parker, Dr. Chen sent me your files." She gestured to a chair. "I've never seen anything like this." That seems to be the consensus. "I want to be clear about something before we proceed." She pulled up data on her computer screen. "What we're dealing with here challenges our fundamental understanding of biology, of evolution, of what it means to be human." She turned the monitor toward me. "This is your DNA sequence. These sections, here, here, and here, they shouldn't exist." I stared at the incomprehensible strings of letters. "What do you mean?" "DNA is like a language. 4 letters, A, T, G, C, and that combine in specific ways. Every living thing on Earth uses the same language, the same rules. But these sequences," she pointed to several highlighted sections, "they use combinations that don't follow those rules. It's like finding sentences in a book that use letters that don't exist in any alphabet." "So, how is it possible?" "2 options." She pulled off her glasses, cleaning them obsessively. "1, this is the most elaborate contamination or hoax in scientific history, which, given the multiple lab confirmations, seems unlikely. And 2, somewhere in your ancestry, human DNA mixed with something that didn't evolve on Earth." The word hung between us. Alien. She didn't say it, but we both heard it. "But I'm normal," I protested. "I look normal, I feel normal." "Do you?" She pulled out a medical scanner. "When was the last time you went to the dentist?" I don't know, years ago. I've never had a cavity." "Been to the hospital?" "No." "Broken a bone?" "No." Cut yourself? Needed stitches? I thought back. I sliced my hand pretty bad on a broken glass last year, but it healed really fast. Didn't even scar. She made notes. Mr. Parker, I'd like to run some tests. Nothing invasive, just scans, reflexes, that sort of thing. Is that all right? I nodded, and for the next 2 hours she put me through a battery of examinations, reaction times, vision tests, hearing tests. She pricked my finger and watched as the tiny wound closed in less than a minute. She shined lights in my eyes and recorded the way my pupils contracted. Or didn't. Your body temperature is 3 degrees cooler than normal, she said finally. Your heart rate is slower, but your blood oxygen is higher. Your cells repair themselves at roughly 4 times the normal human rate. And your eyes. She pulled up an image on her screen. They have structures I've never seen before. Additional layers in the iris. Cells that look almost crystalline. What does it all mean? I don't know. She sat back, looking exhausted. But I think we need to find out where you came from. Your real ancestry. Do you know anything about your biological parents? They died when I was 2. Car accident. I was raised by my aunt and uncle. I'd told this story 1,000 times. They said my parents were normal people. David and Marie Parker. Dad was an engineer. Mom taught elementary school. I'd like to look into that if you don't mind. Death certificates, birth records, anything we can find. She paused. James, have you noticed any changes lately? Anything new? I thought about the patterns in my eyes. The dreams I'd been having. Dreams of stars I didn't recognize, of sounds that weren't quite music, of home that wasn't Earth. Maybe, I admitted. I think, whatever you are, it might be waking up. That evening, I went to my aunt and uncle's house in Ballard. The same craftsman home where I'd grown up, with its wraparound porch and overgrown garden. Aunt Helen answered the door, flower in her gray hair. Jamie, what a surprise. Come in, I'm just making cookies. Uncle Robert was in his usual chair, watching the news. He muted it when I walked in, studying my face. Everything all right, son? I sat on the couch I'd jumped on as a kid, in the living room where I'd opened Christmas presents and done homework and learned to tie my shoes. Normal memories. Human memories. I need to ask you about my parents. Aunt Helen froze in the doorway. Uncle Robert's hand tightened on the remote. What about them? Helen asked carefully. Were they different? In any way? The silence stretched too long. Helen came in and sat beside Robert, taking his hand. They exchanged a look I'd seen before, but never understood. Until now. You know, I said. It wasn't a question. Helen's eyes filled with tears. We promised we'd never... How did you find out? Blood test, genetic screening. I leaned forward. What am I? Robert cleared his throat. We don't know, not exactly. Your parents. They showed up one night, 29 years ago, middle of nowhere, eastern Washington. Helen's sister Marie was camping with her husband when they found them. Found them? Your mother, your biological mother. She was dying. They didn't speak English, didn't speak any language anyone could identify, but Marie was a nurse. She tried to help. Helen wiped her eyes. The woman, she was pregnant. You. She gave birth right there in the desert under the stars, and then she died. And my father? He stayed just long enough to make sure you were safe. Then he walked back into the desert and disappeared. But before he left, he said one word Marie could understand. Protect. My world tilted. So, David and Marie Parker adopted you, raised you as their own. When they died in that accident, and it was an accident, a drunk driver, we took you in, kept the secret. Robert's voice was gruff with emotion. You were just a baby, a perfect, beautiful, normal baby. With non-human DNA. Helen gasped. Is that what the test showed? I nodded, and she broke down crying. We were so careful. No doctors unless absolutely necessary. Home remedies for everything. We thought if we just raised you normal, you'd be normal. But I'm not normal. You're our nephew, Robert said firmly. You're the boy we raised. You're James Parker, and nothing changes that. But everything had changed. I drove home in a daze. The Seattle streets blurred past, rain starting to fall. At red lights, I caught my reflection in the window. Was it my imagination, or was the shimmer in my eyes getting stronger? Sarah was asleep when I got home. I stood in our bedroom doorway, watching her breathe. How could I tell her? How could I tell anyone? I went to the living room and opened my laptop. If my biological parents weren't from Earth, maybe there were others like me. Maybe there were signs, reports, something. I searched for hours. UFO sightings in eastern Washington from 29 years ago. Unexplained phenomena, genetic anomalies. Most of it was conspiracy garbage, but then I found something. A declassified military report from 1996. Multiple witnesses reporting strange lights in the sky over the Cascade Mountains. Search teams finding unusual radiation signatures. And one line that made my blood run cold. 2 humanoid figures observed near the impact site, no bodies recovered. Impact site. My parents hadn't just appeared in the desert, they'd crashed there. I was still staring at the screen when I heard it. A sound that wasn't quite a sound, more like a vibration in my bones. A frequency only I could hear. I stood up, drawn to the window. Outside, in the pre-dawn darkness, something was glowing. Not street lights, not car headlights. Something else. Something calling to me. I grabbed my jacket and keys, moving quietly so I wouldn't wake Sarah. The pull was stronger now, an invisible thread tugging at my chest. I had to follow it, had to know. I drove east, leaving the city behind. The farther I went, the stronger the pull became. My eyes burned, and when I checked the rearview mirror, they were glowing. Actually glowing. Like 2 stars in my face. Dawn was breaking as I reached the mountains. I pulled off onto a dirt road, following instinct more than directions. The car couldn't go any farther, so I got out and walked. The forest was silent. Too silent. No birds, no insects, no wind. Just my footsteps on the pine needles and that constant thrumming call. I found it in a clearing, a perfect circle where nothing grew. The ground fused into glass. The impact site from 29 years ago. I could feel it in my bones, in my impossible DNA. This was where my parents had crashed. Where my mother had died giving birth to me. Where my story began. I knelt in the center of the circle, placing my hands on the glassed earth. The moment I made contact, the world exploded into sensation. Images flooded my mind. Not memories, exactly, but something deeper. Genetic memory, inheritance. I saw them. My people. They weren't like the aliens in movies. No big eyes or gray skin. They looked human, mostly, but their eyes held stars, and their skin shimmered with that same luminescence I'd seen in my reflection. They were explorers, scientists, observers, and they were coming back. The knowledge hit me like a physical blow. The tests, the discovery of my DNA. It had triggered something. A beacon. A signal sent out into the cosmos. One of us is here. They were coming back, and I had no idea if that was a good thing or not. I drove back to Seattle as the sun climbed higher, my mind reeling. Every mile that separated me from that glassed clearing felt like a betrayal of something fundamental, but I had to think, had to figure out what to do. When I got home, Sarah was in the kitchen making coffee. She turned as I walked in, and her face went pale. "James, your eyes." I caught my reflection in the microwave door. They were still glowing, brighter now. The shimmer had spread to my skin, faint but visible. I looked like I was lit from within. "I can explain," I said, even though I wasn't sure I could. You've been lying to me." Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she set down her mug. The doctor's appointment, the early meeting, all of it. So I told her. Everything. The DNA test, Dr. Chen, Dr. Morrison, my parents, the crash site. She listened without interrupting, her expression cycling through disbelief, fear, and something else I couldn't identify. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Show me," she said finally. "What?" "The medical reports. The test results. Show me." I pulled up everything on my laptop. She read through it all, her background in biology helping her understand what even I couldn't fully grasp. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. "This is real." I nodded. "You're not..." She couldn't say it. "Human. Not entirely." She stood up, pacing. "We were going to get married, have kids, buy that house in Wallingford." She laughed, but it came out broken. "Can you even have kids? With a human?" "I don't know." "What else don't you know? Are you dangerous? Are you going to change more? Are you going to leave?" The last question came out as a whisper. "I don't know," I repeated. "Sarah, I'm still me. I'm still the person who loves you, who wants all those things with you. But you're not." She whirled around. "You're something else wearing a human face, and now they're coming? Your people? What happens when they get here?" I wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't, because I'd been wondering the same thing. My phone rang. "Dr. Morrison. James, you need to come to the lab immediately. Something's happening." Sarah drove. I couldn't trust myself behind the wheel. My vision kept shifting, showing me spectrums of light I'd never seen before. The world was suddenly too bright, too full of information. Dr. Morrison met us at the door, along with Dr. Chen and 3 people I didn't recognize. "This is Dr. Franklin from the CDC, Agent Torres from Homeland Security, and Dr. Yoshida from NASA's Exobiology Department," Morrison said quickly. "Your blood samples. They've started changing." She led us to a secure lab where multiple screens showed microscopic images. My blood cells, but different now. They were restructuring themselves, forming patterns that looked almost like circuitry. "It started 6 hours ago," Morrison explained. "Right around dawn, the dormant sequences in your DNA are activating. Your body is upgrading itself." "Upgrading for what?" Sarah asked. Dr. Yoshida stepped forward. "We've detected an object approaching Earth. It appeared on our deep space sensors 12 hours ago. It's not following any natural trajectory. It's being piloted." My bones hummed with recognition. They were coming. "How long?" I asked. "At its current speed, 72 hours. 3 days. 3 days to decide who I was, what I was, where I belonged." Agent Torres cleared his throat. "Mr. Parker, we need to discuss options. This situation presents a potential security risk. We don't know their intentions. You want to lock me up. Protective custody," she corrected. "For your safety and others." "No," Sarah said firmly. "He's not going anywhere." "Ma'am, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." She took my hand, and I felt the warmth of her skin against mine, which it grew cooler by the hour. "Whatever happens, we face it together." But even as she said it, I could feel the distance growing between us. Not emotional distance, physical. My body was changing, cell by cell, becoming something she couldn't follow. That night, we sat on our apartment balcony, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, a ship was coming. My people were coming. "What if you belong with them?" Sarah asked quietly. "I belong here. With you. Do you?" She turned to look at me, and I saw myself reflected in her eyes. Glowing, shimmering, clearly other. "James, what if staying here means denying what you are? What if you're meant for something bigger than a life in Seattle? Working in accounting, having barbecues on weekends. That life sounds pretty good to me. Because it's all you've known. But now," she gestured at the sky, "now there's more." I wanted to argue, but the truth was, I could feel it. The pull. Not just to the stars, but to something beyond human understanding. Knowledge. Purpose. Home. I love you, I said. I know. That's what makes this so hard. We held each other as my skin grew brighter, and her tears fell like rain. The next 2 days passed in a blur. Tests, meetings, preparations. The government wanted to use me as an ambassador. The scientists wanted to study me. The military wanted to assess the threat. But all I wanted was more time. On the final night, I stood in that same clearing where my parents had crashed. Sarah was with me, along with a small army of officials and scientists. The ship would arrive within hours. "You don't have to go," Sarah said, though we both knew it wasn't true. "I know." I touched her face, memorizing every detail. "But I need to know who I am, where I came from, why they left me here. Will you come back?" I wanted to say yes, wanted to promise her forever. But the truth was, I didn't know what I'd find up there, who I'd become. The sky began to shimmer. A craft materialized, not the flying saucer of movies, but something organic, beautiful, like crystallized light. It settled silently in the clearing, exactly where my parents had crashed so many years ago. A door opened, though door wasn't quite right, more like the ship simply allowed entrance. 3 figures emerged. They looked like me, like what I was becoming, human in shape but filled with starlight, eyes holding depths no earthly ocean could match. When they spoke, I understood perfectly, though no one else could. "You are the lost one," the central figure said. "The child of 2 worlds. We searched for so long. Why did you leave me? We didn't mean to. Your parents were explorers, studying your world. The crash, it damaged our navigation. By the time we could return, you had vanished into your population. Hidden. Safe." They extended a hand. "But now you're found. You can come home." Home. The word resonated in my bones. But then I looked at Sarah, at Dr. Chen, who'd been my doctor for 5 years, at the world that had raised me, shaped me, loved me, despite not knowing what I was. "I am home," I said, in English and their language simultaneously. "This is my world. These are my people." The beings tilted their heads, confusion, perhaps, or understanding. "But I want to know," I continued. "I want to learn about where I came from, who we are, what we are." I took a breath that tasted of pine and possibility. "Can you teach me? Here?" They communed silently, lights pulsing between them. Finally, the central one nodded. "The child of 2 worlds wishes to remain in both. This is unprecedented. But perhaps that is what's needed, a bridge, an understanding." "You'll stay?" Sarah asked, hope breaking through her voice. "They'll stay," I confirmed. "Not here exactly, but close, hidden. Teaching me, learning from us." I turned back to the beings. "Is this acceptable?" "You are unique," they said. "Part of them, part of us. Perhaps you are exactly what both worlds need." The ship pulsed once, acknowledging the decision. Then, as silently as it had arrived, it lifted off, disappearing into the night sky. But I could feel them. A presence just beyond sight. Waiting, teaching, connecting. Sarah threw her arms around me, and I held her tight, my glowing skin casting soft shadows in the darkness. "So, what happens now?" she asked. "Now?" I smiled, feeling the weight and wonder of 2 worlds in my chest. "Now we figure out what it means to be human, and what it means to be more." As we walked back through the forest, hand in hand, I caught our reflection in a still pool of water. 2 figures, one filled with starlight, one beautifully, wonderfully human. Different, but together. "My name is James Parker. I was raised in Seattle, I work in accounting, and I love rainy days and coffee shops. I also have DNA that isn't from Earth, eyes that hold stars, and a heritage that spans the cosmos. I am the bridge between worlds. And my story? It's just beginning. But here's what haunts me late at night when Sarah's asleep and I stand at our window watching the stars. They said I was the lost one, singular. But what if I'm not the only one? What if there are others like me, scattered across the earth, their alien DNA dormant, waiting? What if you're one of them? Have you ever felt different? Not quite fitting in? Have you ever looked at the stars and felt a pull you couldn't explain? Have you ever wondered why you've never been sick? Why animals trust you? Why your eyes look strange in certain light? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're perfectly, wonderfully human. Or maybe, just maybe, you're something more. Maybe you're the next bridge between worlds, waiting to be discovered. The thought keeps me up at night. It should scare me. Instead, it gives me hope. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Being different doesn't make you wrong. It makes you necessary. The universe is vast and full of wonders. And sometimes, those wonders walk among us, work in accounting, fall in love, and live beautifully ordinary lives. Until the day they discover they're extraordinary. So, I'll ask you again. When was the last time you had a blood test? You might be surprised what you find. Sweet dreams, and watch the stars. Story number 3. The first time I counted, I thought I was losing my mind 7 times. Not 6, not 8, always 7. And before you ask, yes, I live alone. I've lived alone in this cramped studio apartment in downtown Seattle for 3 years now. Just me, my rescue cat Mochi, and whatever keeps opening my bedroom door exactly 7 times between midnight and dawn. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you something. If you're listening to this in bed right now, maybe check your door is locked. Maybe count how many times you hear it creak tonight. Because once you start counting, you can never stop. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. Comment below if you've ever experienced something you couldn't explain in your own home. Trust me, you're not alone. All right, here's where the story really begins. It started 2 months ago. October in Seattle is already dark and wet, but that particular night felt heavier somehow. The rain hammered against my single-bedroom window like tiny fists demanding entry. I'd been tossing and turning for hours. You know those nights where sleep feels just out of reach? Where every position feels wrong? I'd finally started drifting when I heard it. Click, my bedroom door, opening. Now, I need to paint you a picture here. My studio apartment is basically one room with a tiny bathroom. The bedroom is just an alcove separated by a door I installed myself for privacy. Old building, built in 1947. Creaky floors, pipes that groan, the whole 9 yards. But this was different. The door swung open slowly. I could hear the hinges whispering in the darkness. My heart started racing, but I kept my eyes shut tight. Maybe if I pretended to be asleep, nothing happened. No footsteps, no breathing. Just silence. After what felt like forever, I cracked one eye open. The door stood wide open, revealing the dark living room beyond. Mochi was curled up at the foot of my bed, completely unbothered. If someone was there, she'd be hissing or hiding. Cats know things we don't. I got up, checked the apartment. Empty, windows locked. Front door deadbolted from the inside. I closed the bedroom door firmly, making sure the latch caught, and went back to bed. 20 minutes later, click. Again. This time, I sat up immediately. The door swung open with that same deliberate slowness, like someone was savoring the moment. "Hello?" My voice cracked. "Is someone there?" Nothing. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight. The living room stared back at me, empty and ordinary. My thrift store couch, my coffee table covered in unopened mail. Everything exactly where it should be. I closed the door again. Harder this time. It happened 5 more times that night. Each time, I'd close it. Each time it would open again. By the 7th time, I gave up, left it open. And you know what? It stayed that way until morning. The next day, I did what any rational person would do. I blamed the building. Old apartments in Seattle have character, right? That's realtor speak for things don't work properly. The door probably wasn't level. Maybe the latch was worn out. I spent my lunch break at Home Depot, bought a new doorknob, installed it myself that evening. That night, I went to bed confident. Problem solved. Click, 1:07 a.m. I know because I started checking the time. Click, 1:43 a.m. Click, 2:21 a.m. By the 4th opening, I wasn't even scared anymore. Just confused and exhausted. I started leaving a notepad by my bed, jotting down the times, looking for a pattern. There wasn't one. The intervals were random. Sometimes 30 minutes apart, sometimes an hour, but always 7 times. Always. After a week of this, I was running on fumes. You know that feeling when you're so tired your bones hurt? When coffee stops working and you're just existing in this weird fog? That was me. My coworkers at the tech startup where I worked kept asking if I was okay. I'd mumble something about insomnia and change the subject. But here's where it gets interesting. 3 weeks in, I decided to get scientific about it. Set up my laptop to record all night. Positioned it perfectly to capture the door. If something was opening it, I'd have proof. The next morning, I reviewed the footage with shaking hands and 3 cups of coffee. 1:03 a.m., the door opens, slowly, deliberately, by itself. 1:38 a.m. again. 2:15 a.m. again, and so on. 7 times. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. At 3:33 a.m., during the 5th opening, the camera glitched. Static for exactly 3 seconds. When the image cleared, the door was wide open, and there was something different about the darkness beyond it. I played it back, paused it, zoomed in. The darkness in my living room looked deeper, denser, like it had weight to it. And just at the edge of the frame, barely visible, was what looked like. No, it couldn't be. I zoomed in further, enhanced the image, and there, right where my couch should be, was a shape. Tall, still, watching. I must have stared at that image for an hour, trying to convince myself it was just shadows playing tricks. But shadows don't have eyes. And whatever was in my living room that night, it was looking directly at the camera. That evening, I did something stupid. I invited my friend Jake over, told him I was having door issues and asked if he'd help me check it out. I didn't mention the recordings or the figure. Didn't want him to think I'd lost it completely. Jake's a practical guy, works construction. He examined the door frame, the hinges, even used a level to check if it was straight. "Everything looks good to me," he said, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Maybe you got a ghost." He laughed. I didn't. Would you mind staying tonight just to see for yourself?" He looked at me like I'd asked him to help me move a body. "Dude, are you okay? You look terrible. Please, just one night. I'll order pizza, we can game, make a night of it." He agreed, probably out of pity more than anything else. We stayed up until midnight playing Call of Duty and eating pepperoni pizza. Normal. Comfortable. I almost forgot about the door. Then 1 a.m. rolled around. "Watch," I whispered, pausing the game. We sat in silence, staring at my bedroom door. 1 minute passed, 2, 5, nothing. "Man, I think you need to get more sleep," Jake said, standing up. "I'm going to crash on your couch, okay?" I nodded, defeated. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe the stress from work, the lack of sleep, it was all catching up to me. I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and lay down. At 1:47 a.m., Jake's scream woke up the entire building. I burst out of my bedroom to find him pressed against the wall, pointing at my bedroom door. It was wide open. I know I'd closed it. I know because I'd started checking the latch 3 times before bed. A new ritual. It just opened," he stammered, "by itself. I saw it, the handle turned and it just... I told you. No, man, you don't understand. The handle turned like someone was turning it. But there was nobody there. Jake left that night. Wouldn't even stay until morning. Haven't heard from him since. He won't return my calls. But that night taught me something important. It wasn't just happening to me, Jake saw it too, which meant either we were both crazy or something was very, very wrong with my apartment. I started researching the building's history. Late nights at the Seattle Public Library, diving into old newspapers and property records. You want to know what I found? Nothing. Absolutely nothing unusual. No murders, no suicides. Just a boring apartment building built after World War II for returning veterans. Families had lived here, raised children, grown old, normal lives in normal rooms. But then I found something else, a pattern I hadn't expected. Every tenant who'd lived in my specific unit had moved out after less than a year. Since 1947, dozens of people had signed leases for apartment 3B. None renewed. The rental company's records showed complaint after complaint. Maintenance issues, noise problems, personal reasons. One name kept appearing in the early records: Margaret Chen, the building's first tenant in 1947. She'd lived in 3B for exactly 7 months before vanishing. No forwarding address, no explanation. Her rent was paid through the end of the year, but she never came back for her belongings. I dug deeper, found a photo in an old newspaper archive. "Local woman missing," read the headline. There was Margaret, smiling at the camera. Young, hopeful. The article mentioned she'd been a nurse at Harborview Medical Center. Had just moved to Seattle from San Francisco. No family. Few friends. She'd simply disappeared. That night, I tried something different. Instead of closing my bedroom door, I left it open. If it wanted to be open so badly, fine. Maybe that would stop the cycle. It didn't. At 1:15 a.m., the door slammed shut. Hard enough to rattle the windows. Then, slowly, it opened again. I lay there, paralyzed, as this pattern repeated. Close, open, close, open, 7 complete cycles. Like it was showing me something, demonstrating. On the 7th cycle, it stayed open, and I heard something that made my skin crawl. Footsteps, soft, careful, coming from my living room. They stopped just outside my door. Margaret? The name left my lips before I could stop it. Silence. Then, so quiet I almost missed it, a whisper, 7. I grabbed my phone, called 911, told them someone had broken into my apartment. But when the police arrived, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no evidence of an intruder. Just a terrified guy in his boxers babbling about doors and dead nurses. They left me with a case number and suspicious looks. The next morning, I made a decision. I was done being passive, done being afraid. If something wanted my attention this badly, fine. It had it. I went back to the library, searched deeper, and I found something the newspaper archives had missed. Margaret Chen hadn't just disappeared. She'd been murdered. Her body was found 7 months after she vanished, buried in the walls of an abandoned building in Soto. The construction crew that found her said she'd been wrapped in plastic, preserved like she died yesterday. The killer was never caught. But here's the detail that made my hands shake as I read it. She'd been found behind a door that had been walled over. A door that, according to the building's original blueprints, led to apartment 3B. My apartment. I should have moved out. Any sane person would have packed their things and run. But I'd signed a lease. Breaking it would cost me thousands I didn't have. And honestly, a part of me needed to know, needed to understand why 7, why the door, why me. So I did something that probably sealed my fate. I talked to her. That night, as I lay in bed waiting for the first click, I spoke into the darkness. "Margaret, I know what happened to you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." 1 a.m. came and went. No click, no opening door. Is that what you want? For someone to know, for someone to remember? Still nothing. Then, at 1:07 a.m., the door didn't just open. It exploded inward, slamming against the wall so hard the doorknob punched a hole in the drywall. Every light in my apartment flickered on at once. And there, standing in my living room, was nothing. But I could feel her, feel the weight of her presence. The temperature dropped so fast my breath came out in clouds. 7 months, I whispered, understanding flooding through me. You lived here 7 months. The door opened 7 times. You're trying to tell me something? The lights flickered once. Yes? Who killed you? The lights went out. In the darkness, I heard footsteps. Not the soft, careful ones from before. These were heavy, deliberate, male. My bedroom door slammed shut. I heard the lock engage, not from my side, from the outside. I was trapped. The footsteps circled my door, once, twice, 7 times. Then they stopped directly in front of it. She trusted me. The voice was old, raspy, like it was coming through water. Pretty little nurse, so helpful, so naive. Let me right in when I said I was here to fix the radiator. The door handle rattled. Took her 7 minutes to die. 7 minutes of looking into my eyes, wondering why. I counted every second. The door began to open. Slowly. Just like every night, but this time, I could see fingers curling around the edge. Thick fingers. Stained with something dark. And now you know. Now someone finally knows. 47 years I've been waiting for someone to ask the right question. To say her name. The door swung fully open. The hallway beyond wasn't my living room anymore. It was a basement. Old, damp, with plastic sheets hanging from the ceiling. Come see where I put the others. I scrambled backward, fell off my bed, crawled to the window. My fingers fumbled with the lock. Behind me, those heavy footsteps entered my room. 7 nurses, 7 months apart. Margaret was just the first. The papers never connected them. Different neighborhoods, different hospitals. But they all lived here first. All in 3B, I made sure of that. The window finally opened. 3 stories up, but I didn't care. I'd rather break my legs than... A hand grabbed my ankle. Cold, impossibly strong. The building manager, that's what I was, had keys to every room. Could come and go as I pleased. Who suspects the helpful old man who fixes your leaky faucet? I kicked, screamed. My neighbors had to hear me. Had to. They can't hear you. Not when the door is open. This place, it's special now, in between, where I've been waiting, where they've all been waiting. I grabbed my phone, tried to dial 911, but the screen showed something else. A video, playing on its own. Security footage from 1947. A young woman opening her door, an old man in coveralls standing there with a toolbox. Her smile, his smile. The door closing behind them. Want to know why 7? The voice whispered directly into my ear. Because that's how many it takes. 7 souls to open the door permanently. To let me back out, and you're going to help me find the 7th. I wrenched free, dove through the window. 3 stories. The fall took forever and no time at all. I hit the bushes hard, felt something snap in my shoulder, but I was alive. I ran, barefoot, in my boxers, in the Seattle rain. I ran until I couldn't anymore. The police didn't believe me. Why would they? A building manager who'd been dead for 15 years couldn't grab anyone's ankle. Margaret Chen's case was closed. The other nurses? There were no other nurses, no records, no missing persons reports that matched. But I know what I saw, what I felt, what I heard. I'm staying in a motel now. Different one each night, because here's the thing. The door still opens. Whatever room I'm in, whatever lock I use. 7 times each night, getting louder, getting closer. And last night, night 6 at Motel 6, I heard something new after the 7th opening. Footsteps. Not his. Lighter, careful, and a woman's voice, tired and sad. I'm sorry, he's getting stronger. We can't hold him much longer. You have to warn them. Anyone who moves into 3B, the 7th is coming. The door is almost open. And when it opens, all the way. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. So, if you're listening to this, if you live in Seattle, if you're apartment hunting, stay away from the Grandview building on Capitol Hill. Stay away from apartment 3B. And if your door starts opening at night, if it opens exactly 7 times, don't count, don't investigate, don't say her name, just run. Because I've been doing research, tracking disappearances, nurses who vanish without a trace. And I found something that makes me wish I'd never started looking. In the past month, 6 nurses have gone missing in Seattle. Different hospitals, different neighborhoods, but they all have one thing in common. They all toured apartment 3B before they disappeared. The 7th is still out there, and the door is still opening every single night. Actually, wait, do you hear that? Is that your door? Maybe you should check. Or maybe you should just hit subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Comment if you've ever experienced something you couldn't explain. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. And whatever you do, count how many times your door opens tonight. I dare you. But wait, there's more to this story. Something I didn't tell you. Something I couldn't tell you until now. See, after I posted this story online the first time, something happened. Something that proved I wasn't crazy. Something that might be happening to you right now. I started getting emails, messages, comments from people all over the country, not just Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Denver, Austin, Boston, all saying the same thing. My door opened 7 times too. At first, I thought it was just people messing with me. You know how the internet is. Post something creepy and everyone wants to be part of it. But then the details started matching up. Things I hadn't mentioned in my original post. The footsteps that circle exactly 7 times. The woman's whisper. The basement that shouldn't exist. The old man who smells like mildew and copper pennies. One message stood out. From a username NurseRatchet1984 in Philadelphia. I lived in an apartment where the door opened 7 times. Just like yours. But I found something you missed. Check the floorboards. Under the bed. That's where he keeps the list. I know what you're thinking. I'd moved out. I was done with apartment 3B. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and I had to know. Had to understand why this was spreading. So last week I did something incredibly stupid. I went back. The apartment was still empty. The property manager, a young woman who couldn't have been older than 25, seemed surprised when I asked to see it. That unit? Really? We've had trouble keeping it rented. People always break their lease early, say it has bad vibes or whatever. She laughed nervously. But hey, the rent's reduced now. Only $900 a month. Absolute steal for Capitol Hill. $900. Down from $1,500 when I lived there. That should have been my second warning. The first was the smell that hit me when she opened the door. Not mildew, not rot, something else. Something like flowers. Funeral flowers. I'll let you look around, she said quickly. Just pull the door shut when you leave. It locks automatically. She practically ran down the hallway. Standing in that familiar space felt like stepping back into a nightmare. Everything was the same. The water stain on the ceiling. The warped floorboard by the kitchen. Even the hole in the wall where the doorknob had slammed that night. I went straight to the bedroom. Got on my hands and knees. Started checking the floorboards. Pressing, pushing, looking for anything loose. And then I found it. One board right under where the head of my bed used to be. It wiggled when I pressed it. I worked my fingers into the gap, pried it up. Underneath was a metal box. old, rusted. The kind you'd keep documents in. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. All women, all young, all wearing nurse uniforms from different eras, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and written on the back of each photo in spidery handwriting, Number 1, Margaret Chen, 7 months, 7 minutes. Number 2, Dorothy Williams, 7 months, 7 minutes. Number 3, Patricia Gomez, 7 months, 7 minutes, and so on. 6 photographs, 6 names, 6 nurses who'd lived exactly 7 months before disappearing. But there was more. At the bottom of the box, a leather journal. The first entry was dated October 7th, 1947. The building speaks to me now, shows me things, the space between the walls, the place where sound doesn't travel, where time moves different. 7 is the number, always 7. 7 opens the door. 7 keeps it closed. 7 to enter, 7 to leave. I understand now. I know what it wants. I flipped through the pages. Detailed accounts of each murder, how he'd watched them. Learned their schedules. Waited exactly 7 months. But it was the last entry that made my blood freeze. December 21st, 1962. They found me out. The police. The families. They're coming. But it doesn't matter. I've hidden myself in the only place they'll never look. Behind the 7th door, in the 7th space, where time is a circle and 7 times 7 equals forever. The building will keep me, feed me, until someone opens the door from the other side, until someone counts to 7, and then 7 more, and then 7 squared, 343 times. That's when I'll be free. That's when the real work begins. 343 times. I did the math. If the door opened 7 times each night, that's 49 nights. 7 weeks exactly. I'd been counting for 7 weeks. My hands fumbled for my phone. I needed to check the date. Needed to see how long since that night Jake screamed. That's when I heard it. The click. But I wasn't in bed. It wasn't night. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and the bedroom door was closing. By itself. With me inside, I lunged for it, but too late. The lock engaged with a sound like bones breaking. Did you find it? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. My collection? My life's work? The lights went out. In the darkness, I could see him. Not fully, just impressions. A shadow that moved wrong. Too many angles, like he existed in more dimensions than he should. 49 days you counted. 7 times 7. Just like the instructions said, and now you've opened the door. The real door, the one that matters. The room started stretching, the walls pulling away from each other. The space between them wasn't empty. It was full of rooms, other apartments, all identical, all with their doors opening and closing in perfect synchronization. Every city has a building like this, he continued, a soft spot, a place where the barriers are thin. I found 7 of them before they stopped me, set up the same ritual in each one. And you beautiful, curious people, you always count, always investigate, always open what should stay closed. I saw them then, the nurses, not 6, dozens, hundreds, standing in those infinite rooms, waiting, watching, their mouths moving in unison. 7, 7, 7. But here's the secret. The shadow leaned closer, and I could smell grave dirt and formaldehyde. I never needed a 7th nurse. That was misdirection. I needed a 7th counter, someone to witness, someone to spread the story, someone to make others curious. And you've done beautifully. My phone buzzed. Messages. So many messages, all from different usernames. I'm on night 6. Tomorrow is my 49th night. The door won't stop opening. Help me? Help me? It's night 7 squared. He laughed. It sounded like doors slamming in sequence. Every person who hears your story and starts counting, they're mine. Every door that opens 7 times, that's another soft spot, another place where I can reach through, and soon, I won't need the doors at all. I ran, not to the window this time, to the front door. It opened at my touch and I burst into the hallway. But the hallway was wrong. Too long, too many doors, all of them opening and closing. 7 times, over and over. Behind each door, someone counting, someone terrified, someone trapped in their own loop of 7. I ran down stairs that went up, through corridors that circled back on themselves, past windows that showed not Seattle, but other cities, other buildings, other people pressing their faces against the glass, screaming silently. Finally, impossibly, I found myself on the street. Real pavement, real rain, real people walking by, oblivious. I looked back at the building. It looked normal, innocent, just another old apartment complex. But I knew better. I tried to warn people, posted everywhere I could. But here's the thing about the internet. The more you tell people not to do something, the more they want to do it. My story went viral. The 7-door challenge. YouTubers started filming themselves counting door openings. TikTokers made it a trend, and the messages kept coming. Night 42, almost there. My cat won't come in my room anymore. I see nurses in my dreams. The old man visited last night. 1 more week, 7 more nights. Help. I've tried everything, deleted my posts, begged people to stop, but it's too late. The story has a life of its own now, spreading, mutating, growing. And last night, I discovered something that made everything worse. I wasn't the first counter. In my desperate research, I found others. A blog from 2003, a forum post from 1999, even a newspaper clipping from 1983 about a door-counting epidemic in Chicago, all describing the same thing. 7 times, 7 weeks, 7 buildings, but they all disappeared after warning others. Just gone. Their final posts always the same. He's free now. The 7 squared was reached. I'm so sorry. Stop counting. Please stop counting. He's coming for all of us, all the counters, all the witnesses. 7 by 7 by 7. 343 souls to complete the grand opening, and then... They never finished that sentence. It's been 6 days since I went back to the apartment. Tomorrow is day 7, and I know he's coming for me. The original counter, the one who let him out. So please, if you're listening, if you've been counting, stop. Board up your door, move, run, do whatever you have to do, but whatever you do, don't make it to night 49. Because I figured out the final piece. The thing that makes this so much worse, it's not about the buildings, it's not about the nurses, it's not even about him, not really. It's about the space between, the place where stories live, where urban legends breed, where every whispered tale and shared nightmare takes root and grows. He found a way in, a way to exist not just in buildings, but in the story itself. Every time someone hears it, tells it, shares it, he gets stronger, more real, more here. And when 343 people complete the count, when that many souls have opened their doors 343 times, the space between becomes the space within, every door, everywhere, all at once. 7 billion doors, 7 billion chances, 7 billion ways in. Are you still counting? Or is it already too late? Actually, you know what? I just realized something. Something about you. The person listening to this right now. You didn't just stumble onto this story, did you? You searched for it, looked for it. Something made you curious about doors that open exactly 7 times. Which means you've already started counting. How many nights has it been? Be honest. How many times has your door opened? Are you getting close? Are you almost at 49? Is that why you're really here? Looking for answers? Looking for a way out? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But there isn't one. Once you start counting, you can't stop. The number gets in your head, 7, always 7. You'll check even when you don't want to. You'll count even when you try not to. And on the 49th night, on that final 7th 7, you'll meet him, the real him. Not the shadow in the walls, not the echo in the story, but the thing that lives in the space between spaces, the thing that turns curiosity into a cage. He'll offer you a choice. The same choice he offered me. The same choice every counter faces. Become a spreader, tell the story, make others count, feed the cycle, or become a number, another photograph in a box, another nurse who lived exactly 7 months, another soul trapped behind the doors that never stop opening. I made my choice. That's why you're hearing this. That's why I'm still here, still talking, still warning, even though I know it only makes things worse. Because the alternative, well, count to 49 and find out. Sweet dreams. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And whatever you do, check your door tonight. I dare you.